In Barbados, countless hours of work are done each day without pay.
It's the quiet, unpaid work that keeps households and communities thriving.
This work is vital, yet it's often invisible, unaccounted for in economic data.
Unpaid care work, including domestic tasks, childcare, and adult care, plays a fundamental role in the lives and economy of Barbados. Globally, women perform 76% of all unpaid care work. In Barbados, women spend nearly double the amount of time as men on unpaid domestic and care work.
Women dedicate about 18% of their day, about 4.3 hours, while men contribute around 10% or 2.4 hours. This burden spans three major categories: housework, childcare, and adult care.
What is happening in Barbados with regard to unpaid care work is what is happening regionally, is what is happening globally. Women continue to shoulder the disproportionate burden and responsibility for unpaid care work. What this means is that women then have less time for things like entrepreneurship, for seeking employment, or even seeking the types of jobs that they may want. They may decide, okay, I have to take a part-time job instead of taking a full-time job. We in no way want to convey that these care activities are the wrong thing to do. What we are basically saying is that this unpaid care work should be shared equitably and it shouldn't translate into a burden. It is really important to go beyond anecdotes to present the lived realities of people. It is always important to hear from the people who are experiencing unpaid care work, to really hear from them what their challenges are, what their priorities are, what supports they need, and what they also admire about the role that they play. We shouldn't also see unpaid care work in just a negative light. We hear from mothers, we hear from fathers, we hear from persons with disabilities, we hear from the elderly and retired persons, we hear from young people. We want to see what young people also think about unpaid care workers. And this is important because we will take this information to policymakers and complement this with the data, the numbers, and really paint a full picture of unpaid care work in Barbados, and hopefully as we continue this work in the wider Caribbean.
When it was both my parents and me and my sister, it was primarily my mother that would have taken on most of the household chores. So she would have cooked, cleaned, etc. And we would, I guess, also assist with our own personal cleaning. So that would be like cleaning our bedrooms, cleaning our own dishes, etc. But after my parents would have gone through some sort of divorce, things changed. So when my father left the house, my mother stopped cleaning, cooking, and doing those things as much as she used to. So the responsibility became more shared.
I think that there is a lot of guilt on both sides, both the individual who is receiving the care and the individual who is giving the care. Because particularly if it is a case where the care or the tasks that need to be done must be done throughout the day. You know, there are some individuals that you may be able to provide the care in the morning time, and then you're relatively free during the day until the evening when, you know, you get the person ready for bed to have their supper and so on. And then there may be other persons, because of the health issue or the mental health issue, it requires more constant care. And I think that even for the caregiver to take a moment and say, let me go downtown and pay a few bills and maybe stop and buy a drink or roti or something, they feel guilty about it. So they may do everything online, or they might ask another family member or neighbor or somebody to go and pay bills and so on. So they're not really getting any respite. And I think that, you know, that creates a lot of guilt and other emotions inside the individual.
But I do think that young people now, a lot of people are so stressed just trying to make it for themselves that they do not have the capacity. I don't think that everybody wants to do it. It's actually a lot of mental and physical work to look after somebody who's unwell. And sometimes they just can't do it. So I don't think it's that people are all so horrible nowadays. I do think there's an element of not being able to do it.
Workers contribute tremendously to the economic, the social, and the everything development of Barbados. Without these persons, women specifically, of whom the majority are women, Barbados would not have progressed and developed in the manner that it has. We would not have reached the point that we have, and we're looking to progress further. And if we don't give recognition to persons, because we always recognize sports people, we recognize all types of people, but we don't recognize this particular group, which has stayed in the background and contributed such a significant amount to the development and progress of Barbados.
Go home and you sit down and you play a game whilst you say watch TV and scroll through your phone. And I'm like, but listen, if I see all this stuff that has to be done, like my eyes are open, auntie, your eyes open, you know, see, like we are about to those. And then sometimes, unfortunately, they may require a checklist or you to tell them to do something.
But
It's
that's
not
to
make
make
no-
sure.
But then
Because
you
that's
have
how
the
we're raised.
explicit,
What I
you
said,
have the
I
explicit
have
in
to
your
care for him too.
instructions.
Because it's like, no, you gotta also know, put time and effort into creating a checklist or a planner and saying to you, this is what I need you to do.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. It's
That
like,
blows my mind.
I feel like I'm doing the same
I
thing.
think also
I can just do it myself. Sometimes I end up then just doing it because it's easier.
I can
to
do that
just-
for myself.
Yes, it's
but
just like-
I do agree with you in terms of, like not being helpful, but like you said, I think we set up ourselves for that because we're the super women, we do everything. So then he doesn't have to do anything. And I think that, sometimes we do that,
Yeah.
right? In terms of we want to be good wives.
It was interesting when you said work because I never really thought about it as work. But realistically, when you go to your 8 till 5 and you come home, it's really that you are working again. Some nights ending at midnight to be back up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go again.
That was my time that I honestly stand and I like work for 8 hours and two going for the bus for the morning and two coming back for the evening. And so then something is like you're out for actually like maybe 12 hours. So then I come back and find it there. So something I said, I just don't know. Y'all just take everything for granted.
Because I was so used to my mom cooking for me all my life that I didn't realize how much of a privilege it is. Know that if I don't cook, I don't eat.
Unless you buy fast food.
And I can't afford that.
Some days I know for sure you running late, whatever, it's like emotion, frustration. It's like sometimes boys get up and we want to move, and then we're fast enough. My 14-year-old spend an hour in the bath. And, you know what I mean? Like the whole, it can get really, really stressed out, especially then if you have stuff to do.
I get the feeling that I'm being taken for granted. So you're doing all these things and then it's like, do they really appreciate it? Do they really value?
Right.
Do you value it? Because you're doing it, as we say as men, you feel that I'm the provider, I got the son, I got the head, I got to make sure everybody gets it.
Yeah.
I come last. But sometimes you just look back and say, you really, really appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
The stress that you put yourself in to keep everything together. It's a moral responsibility that you're responsible to doing. Your mother take care of you, you take care of your man or your siblings. If your brother or sister in any difficulty, you see that as a moral responsibility. So when I look at it from that perspective, the concept of those a little different experience to me.
My mother come from that one time school where they didn't know washing machine. My mother used to wash everyone close by hand, and that's how my mother is, right? And when I got married, when I moved in with my wife, it was so hard to adjust because the expectations was that we would feel awkward in the month.
Yeah, you marry your mother.
Because we did doing so hard, and not because of cheating or anything. It was just because of how soul takes and all it. Like the way I used to live and the way she just live is two different lives, you know? I think my role was always the outside, those hardcore things. I guess for the relationship to work, I realized, well, listen to me, if you want these things done, you all do them yourself. And I guess that's where the transformation then comes, because I'm saying now that the expectations of me as a man to keep my house together lies with me doing what I want done and not what I think my wife should do.
These insights highlight the need for policies to recognize, reduce, and redistribute unpaid care work.
Recommendations include flexible work arrangements, enhanced parental leave, and community support systems.
These are essential steps toward valuing care work and creating opportunities for all. Research shows that if unpaid care work were recognized and valued, it would contribute an estimated 10% to 39% of global GDP.
In the Caribbean, the gap in unpaid care work creates barriers that ripple across society. But by addressing these imbalances, we have the chance to build a fairer, more inclusive future. Unpaid care work is the backbone of our society. It's time to bring it into the spotlight, to recognize its value and to support the people who do this work every day. When we value care,
we empower families,
uplift economies, and create a future where everyone can thrive.